living life alcohol free. We're talking about taking action in sobriety and talking about what that means to you, to me, and just having a discussion about that, about sobriety and that kind of thing. So, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name's Josh, living life alcohol free. If you're returning, thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate every single one of you who supports the channel and is coming along with us on this journey in this community. A few things I want to touch base on this week, particularly this morning. The video that I made last night, 2 nights ago now, came out just an hour ago, and it's really just about how we can kind of recognize that in sobriety, it's physical fitness is one thing, but the mental fitness is totally forgotten. I feel like in our society, it's totally not normalized, and I understand why. We kind of we worry so much about how our appearance is to other people. Sometimes, I mean, we do it for ourselves. We want to feel better. We want to look good, but at the same time, it's really building a mental fitness that's really beneficial to us in this journey and sobriety and life. And it's hard to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish inside, mentally, that, it's hard to do while we're drinking. And if we can recognize that and put as much effort into our mental well-being as we do our physical uh, fitness, then we're going to go far. I mean, I tried so hard for so long to stay fit, to stay, in shape, to look good, to appear healthy. But I mean, it really didn't. That didn't work. That didn't do me any good. And really, it's so important to recognize that the mental aspect of all this is so important. Welcome in, Owen. Um, Owen says, I don't think anyone can get physically fit without a base. Yeah, I mean, we got to start somewhere. It's so important to be able to do that. My journey to sobriety didn't just start with me quitting drinking. It started with the fact that I wanted a better life. I wanted to be able to get to where I wanted to go, which was be alcohol free. But I didn't start there. I started with a lot of motivational stuff. I started with watching videos that helped me um, stay the course, kind of mentally, and help me lift me up each day. Um, how did your alcohol-free journey start, Owen? Did it just happen? You just quit one day, or Did it build up? Um, I looked great in addiction, but I looked ugly in my personality. Yeah, I mean, I can kind of go along with that. That's how I kind of felt, and I didn't really care so much about my mental state. I really just wanted to feel good as far as my weight went, but I knew mentally that I needed to work on it. And there was a time in 2016 where a childhood friend of mine drank himself to death, and I really only found that out because I ran into somebody from years ago, and I happened to be uh, in their town doing my grocery shopping, and typically I didn't go to that town for that, and I don't know the reason why I went to that particular store, but when I was checking out, I asked her, "Did you hear about what happened to so and so?" And she said, "Yeah, he was having issues. He drank himself to death in his parents' basement, just basically, and he had a 10-year-old son." And it got me thinking, I was buying booze that day because we were having a graduation party for our oldest daughter. And I think I was buying booze at that time, but I was buying food and stuff too for the party. But I was going home and I was gonna get blasted. Um, Owen says I struggled until I got the help that I needed. I pushed the envelope as far as I could. Then I yelled for help. Yeah, that's kind of how it was for me. I pushed alcohol as far as I could go that day, that graduation day. That was 2017, and I had that conversation, so I knew what had happened to him. Uh, I went home, and that party, I ended up drinking. I think I drank like 18 beers that day, and I remember getting up the next morning and feeling like crap. I mean, I had a headache and I was dehydrated and hungover like normal, and maybe still a little bit buzzed. Uh, but I got ready and I went to a function that next morning, and I just kind of played it off like it was no big deal. I remember meeting up with my mom and telling her how much I drank last night, and I was like, man, and it's like, how can we drink that much and function? It's beyond me. I knew that I had a high tolerance, so I know that that's why. But at the same time, it just we normalize it, and but that was the first day that I really started to think about my drinking as not sustainable. Like this, I can't drink like this. I might end up dead, like this guy that I went to high school with. I wasn't purposefully drinking myself to death, but really ultimately I knew that that amount of alcohol was going to lead to possibly illnesses that I couldn't control anymore, um, or that I'd have to quit drinking because I would have no choice but to quit drinking, and I did not want to be in that position. I didn't want to set myself up for that. So that was like the first step, and I was coming out of my shell before that because I had lost a job. I was out of work for about 10 months, and I was drinking, uh, and I was coping with all that by drinking and riding my bike. I was doing healthy things. I was meditating. I was doing a lot of healthy things, but I was drinking a lot. And but I was at a healthy weight, like as far as my weight goes, because I had time to focus on eating healthy and bike riding and walking a lot, and so I was at a healthy weight, um, and that felt good. But the other aspect of it was my self confidence was lacking, and I wasn't able to find work. I really didn't want to go back to work, honestly, for a while. I collected the unemployment for whatever the duration was, 4 or 5 months that you can get it. And then by the time I got to that point, I had some money saved, so I didn't need to get to work right away. I could kind of keep find looking for the job that I wanted, kind of the job that I was hoping for or expecting. I didn't want to just take a job, but then I got to a point where I was like, I need to just take a job. And in the interim, my wife was going back to school. She was working full time, and it got to a point where it was like, maybe I don't. We talked, and maybe I don't need to go back to work full time because she's busy every day. So maybe I can go back part time, and that ultimately helped open up some doors for me. But it wasn't easy to get to those. It wasn't easy to get through those conversations. It was difficult, and but because I was angry and irritable, and I didn't want to accept where I was with my life. I didn't like where I was in my life, and so leading up to that, uh, with the childhood friend that drank himself to death, there was things that happened. So I started taking steps. I went into therapy. I called my biological father, who I never talked to before, over the phone. I had conversations with him, and conversation. I had like a 45-minute long conversation with him, and that was eye-opening. I really just wanted to talk to him because I wanted to know what his health history was and his history with drinking in particular. And I had that conversation with him. I found out his background and where he was with his drinking. He had been sober for, I think, about 12 years at that time. He recommended AA and getting a sponsor, but I wasn't really into that too much. So I didn't really pursue that. But once I was able to get back on my feet with a job, and it did turned out to be not a great job, but like a year later, I was able to get a job that I really liked, and I'm still doing to this day, which is driving. I really I like to drive. I've always liked it. I've enjoyed it, and it started out great, and it's been great ever since. And that was 2018. But once I got to 2020 and I quit drinking, that's kind of what this topic is about. It's about just how we can start to do things and take action, like in our lives, and take action in regards to just sobriety. It's not just about quitting alcohol. It wasn't just about quitting alcohol for me. I needed to fix my mentality, and I knew that. I needed to fix my self-esteem, and I knew that. I knew that it was going to be difficult to do all those things, and I wasn't looking forward to it in particular. But I think a lot of people quit drinking alcohol and then they they think that's it. Or a lot of people are they quit drinking and then they're still like, this isn't is I mean, this isn't fun. Or I was expecting this to feel better. I was expecting my mentality to be better. And then I feel like people get in trouble with that and then they relapse because they were expecting something to just happen magically when they quit drinking. And I feel like that can't be further from the truth. Uh, and then so yeah, I mean that was really the beginning for me, was to find that group and then also try um, to figure out a way to get through to the meat of what was going on with me. I knew that it wasn't always about just the alcohol. I knew that there was more to the story. And when the psychologist who gave me the Zoloft said said those words, that was what I was looking for the whole time. Take the Zoloft till we get to the meat of what's going on. And that was really what it was. It was like getting to the meat of my issues, uh, not just with alcohol, but overall in general. But I was able to get to that point because I didn't drink alcohol. And I feel like that's one of the things that I want people on this channel or in the sobriety group or just whoever I talk to in person or in life to know that the quitting alcohol is really just one step of the bigger picture. That was usually just a symptom. The drinking was just a symptom of a bigger issue, or issues. And I mean, I had issues where I wasn't content with my life. I had issues where um I was using alcohol to escape. I was using alcohol to cope with problems. There just a lot of different things, a lot of reasons why I was drinking. And it took a while to get to the meat of that, but taking action, because I don't drink, was the reason why I was able to take action, because I'm not drinking. And I'm not drinking at all, like 100%, no alcohol. And there's a lot of people that are trying to fix everything while they're still drinking. And if that's you, I'm glad that you're here. If you're trying to fix what's broken but you're still continuing to drink, it's hard to do that. I don't know that it's even possible. I know that for me it was not possible uh, to take action with all the things that I needed to, unless I quit drinking 100%, no alcohol. And I never said I was never going to go back to it. I was just going to say I am going to possibly go back to it, but I'm going to go back to it after I've fixed everything or figured everything out. And once I got to that point where I felt like I had things figured out, I didn't want to go back to alcohol. There was no point. There was no reason to. And it's not to say that I have everything figured out, but part of it is just accepting what is, um, and acceptance, and then knowing and understanding and accepting that some things don't have answers, and that's okay. And that's kind of where like you were saying, the spiritual thing comes in, Owen. I try not to get too far into depth about my faith on here, but I mean, it does play a big role, in my recovery. Being able to lean on that, especially when I don't have answers for things. I don't know. I mean, uh, I have kids, so they'll ask me, or my daughter will ask me a question, and sometimes I just say, that's just, something that we don't have control over, and that we just have to accept that's how it is. But that's a huge thing in recovery, for me, and it makes me feel like I do have things figured out when I get to that point, because it's like I've exhausted everything, and I have the strength to go through all those processes because I'm not drinking alcohol. Sometimes I dread things. Sometimes I dread having to do things. Um, just last week, I had to go to my daughter's orchestra concert, and I shouldn't say I dreaded it, but I don't like being around a million people a lot of times, and so I was kind of stressed out. And on top of that, when my dog died like a week before that, it's like I was still grieving that, and a lot of it came to a head right before we left when I was trying to close the garage door, and the garage door opener wasn't working, and it hadn't been working correctly for a while. So I've been using an app on my phone, but then the internet wasn't working very well, and I couldn't close the garage door. And rather than walk over, and I realized this after the fact, but I had it up in my made it up in my mind that I had to get out, go in, close the garage door, and then go through the front door and lock the door with my key and come out. When in reality, we have a keypad on outside of the door, and I could have just typed in the numbers and got back in the car. But I wasn't thinking clearly, and it's because I was anxious, and I was still like upset about my dog and grieving that, and then being anxious about having to be around a lot of people and all that. uh it all came to a head, and I got really irritable and lashed out and slammed the door, my car door. And but once I got going and started to think, all right, I'm here to celebrate my daughter, my wife's at work, no one else is going with me, I'm going by myself, but I'm going to celebrate her, and she'll be happy that I'm there. And we got there. I dropped her off. I went over and I sat on this hard, uh, uh, gymnasium bleacher seat, and uh, I didn't want to go wait in my car because I didn't want it to fill up and then I wouldn't have anywhere to sit. So I went in early. I was there like an hour early. Half an hour later, maybe somebody sat down next to me that was wearing like gobs of perfume, and I was like, "Man, I'm glad I got here early because now I can move." So I moved to the top, and I sat up there, and at least I was at the top, and I had the wall as a backing. Um, and then the thing got so full that eventually they had to start setting up seating down in the front row with chairs. And now I'm like, you know, in the middle of like 1,000 people. It felt like, maybe 500. I mean, it was packed. And but my daughter did her thing. She had a duet. She was great. I was present. I was there. I was there just for her. And then and then she's happy when she leaves, and she, we're both excited that she did it, she did well. And then that's that. And then so yeah, it's still working through those things, uh, putting ourselves out there, doing things that we don't necessarily want to do, but it's for the betterment of whoever it is we're celebrating. And maybe we're celebrating ourselves. Maybe we're celebrating milestones of being alcohol free. I know that when I got to 1 year, like a week or two leading up to that, I was anxious. I wasn't sure, if I even wanted to celebrate that. I was never really into celebrating. I was never into having a birthday party. I was never into going to parties. Um, if I did, I was hoping I could drink because I was anxious. And like I said, I had some kind of social anxiety. And, but being alcohol free, I'm able to work through those things and accept those things. And I got to the 1 year, I did a little bit of celebrating, and it was worth it. And that actually opened my eyes to the fact that, what, maybe it's not so bad celebrating myself. Maybe it's not so bad celebrating other people and going out of my way to make sure that they feel like they're, seen and celebrated. And that was what I learned out of that 1 year being alcohol free. And then I wasn't sure where I was going to go after that. Like, am I going to start drinking again? Do I want to start drinking again? Do I want to try going back to alcohol and moderating? Is that something that I'm gonna entertain? An idea that I'm gonna entertain? And those are all what ifs. When I quit drinking and I read This Naked Mind, Annie Grace, who wrote This Naked Mind, talked about 1 calendar year. So that was what I was shooting for those months leading up to that. So I thought, well, what next? Well, what next was I went into therapy for a few visits just to touch base with the therapist that I had for the first 6 months of my recovery. And I decided after like two visits that he seemed like uh, he didn't really have time for me. I saw him like texting with somebody, or like he was getting calls, and or he was talking about politics, or he seemed really preoccupied. And I thought, either he's got something going on or he doesn't think I need to be here. So I got to make a decision here. So I'm like, I really don't need to be there. I don't need to pay money for this. So I ended up not going back. I wasn't on Zoloft anymore, so I didn't really need to do therapy or go to the psychologist to get the scripts for that anymore. So I was just like, I'm done with this. And I spent that little bit of time thinking about what next and making plans. And my next plan was to get to 2 years, and then we'll just go from there. And then when I got to around 2 years, I took action again. I went back to therapy. This time I went back and I met with somebody who was different. I felt like I needed a woman's perspective, being that I am a married man with all daughters. Men therapists just did not get that. They tried. God bless them, but they didn't. They could not help me with that, and I felt like I needed help with that. And it wasn't just about that. It was about um, I was still angry a lot about like how I was perceived by other people. Not just my kids, but they played a big role in that. Like, I felt like a lot of times kids are critical, and that that can be hurtful if we're not in a good place with our mentality. But not it doesn't just have to be kids. Can be coworkers. It can be anybody in our life for that matter. Family members, um, whoever. Right now, I'm doing the YouTube channel, so it could be any comments that come in. But I wouldn't have started this channel if I wasn't at a good place with my mentality. But that happened over years, and I didn't start this channel until I was like 3 or 4 years alcohol free. So I was at a good place, and I was able to work through those issues. But
But I did care a lot about what other people thought of me, and it caused me great anxiety. And I had to hit that head on. I had to take action on that. I had to. Um, that for me, for my peace of mind, and that goes for anything that I do these days now that's bothering me. If something is bothering me, I take action on it, and I'm able to do that now without any worry. And like I posted the other day, I've overcome. I put that down on the community post, but I have overcome a couple health obstacles this year. Um, Not easy, but it's been worth it. And I wouldn't be able to get to that point, I don't think, if I wasn't 5 years alcohol free. I was ready to talk about some of these things, ready to do what it took to get to the bottom of these things. And taking action is something that is it's awesome to be able to do that. So that's what I got for you guys today. Owen, thank you so much for being here. For everybody tuning in and watching, uh, please stay tuned for another video coming up on Sunday. Like I said, the one was just released today. If you like this video, this live stream, please like it and please subscribe. I'm grateful for you today too, Owen. And yeah, if any of you guys want to contribute monetarily to the channel, please feel free to, with a thanks, or just simply by subscribing or watching my videos. You can join my sobriety group, Sobriety in the Storm. The link is pinned in all my videos. It's on Facebook and it's a private group. You can also become a member. There's 4 membership levels, and each one of them has different perks. But that's another way. And then buy me a coffee was another one that I kind of signed up for this week. So those are the things, and I appreciate every single one of you being here. But yeah, this is just the beginning of this journey. YouTube was always going to be the beginning, and that's where we're at. But I'm taking further steps, further action to make this better, make this more vast, help more people, and get more people in the community. That's really what this is about. So thank you all for being here, and we'll see you on the next one.